How to choose between an in-house marketing team and a fractional CMO. By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly whether you should hire an in-house marketing team or a fractional CMO for your business right now. One of the biggest challenges I've seen for a lot of businesses is they go out and they build this massive in-house marketing team, and now they've got a huge increase in their overhead, and then they sit down and they all look at each other and they go, okay, so what's the actual strategy that we're supposed to be executing? That is exactly what you do not want. So the big key here is one is execution and one is strategy. Let me dive a little bit deeper into that. When you build an in-house marketing team, you could be hiring copywriters, video editors, graphic designers, media buyers, project managers. All of these people have a unique skill unto themselves, but it's very rare that one of them is going to definitively know exactly what strategy that you should be deploying in your business. That's what we typically call a strategist or a fractional CMO. Somebody actually has to know which channels you're in, what should the messaging be, what should the sales flow be? What should the communication temperature be? Are people in top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel? There's so many elements inside of marketing that if somebody doesn't have the reins, if somebody hasn't created the strategy that needs to be deployed for your specific business at your specific stage, then hiring an in-house marketing team is just gonna give you a lot of weapons or tools without actually having a general to lead the charge. So here's the pros of building an in-house marketing team. When you build an in-house marketing team, they're effectively 100% owned by you. So every hour of every day, they have to be producing something to justify their salary. And when you don't have an in-house marketing team, let's just say, for example, you use an agency, they have multiple clients. So you're paying typically less to an agency than you would pay to hire a full-time team. But the reality is that you don't get the same speed of execution when you're hiring an agency. Typically, you can get more experience, but you don't have that 100% focus because they might have multiple clients. So that is one of the pros of hiring an in-house marketing team. Now, the ideal situation is if you're gonna hire an in-house marketing team, then you have to have somebody that maps out your strategy and then can go from department to department to department, from person to person to person, and say, hey, this is your part that you have to own. This is part that you have to own. Here's your timeline. Here's my expectation for you. And at the end of the day, when they all come together like an orchestra, then you can actually execute at a high level. But if you don't have that fractional CMO or you don't have that permanent marketing director role or permanent CMO role, it's just more money without less execution. Now, here's why I personally would hire a fractional CMO before you build the in-house marketing team. Typically, there's a lot of levers that can be pulled inside of a business. You would be shocked. I'll give you one example just so you know what I'm talking about. We have a client last week. They do about $10 million a year in revenue. They thought they had a marketing problem. And the reality is once we dug into how their business works, they actually had a sales problem, but sales and marketing are so intertwined. So you can't overlook the sales process. And what we realized is that that company was trying to introduce a business to their concept, explain it to them, get their buy-in on the concept, and then spend $20,000 a year, all within a 40-minute time frame. When we looked at it, we said, that's a lot to ask somebody to commit to when they didn't even know who you were yesterday. They didn't even know what the concept was. And now you're saying in 40 minutes, I want you to spend $25,000 a year. Not to mention the way their process was flowing, there was questions in the mind of the prospect. How long is this gonna take? What people do I have to involve? What data am I gonna have to pull to execute this strategy? So they had all these questions also rolling around in their head. So what we did is we said, you know what? This is too much. We're gonna pivot the strategy. We're gonna have a two-step sales process. So day one, we're just gonna tell them everything about the company, how amazing it is, how it's gonna improve their business, so on and so forth. And then we're gonna charge them $198, and we're gonna do something called a relationship mapping call. And this relationship mapping call basically tied in all of the elements of that offer to their business and how it was gonna impact them. And we got all the decision makers together. And at the end of it, we said, hey, if you like the strategy at the end of this, we'll apply that $198 towards the actual product itself. If you don't like it, we'll just refund it. So there's literally no risk. Here's the difference of what happened. They went from taking an average of 7 months to close a client down to 3 weeks. Think about what that did for cash flow. Secondly, for their sales team and the morale, they went from taking 6 months to close a client and earn their commission to all of a sudden having a 90% close rate off of that second call. So think about the morale of the sales team, how excited they are to now book these calls. This is just an example of a small lever that can be pulled that has now massively increased their cash flow and their revenue. And that's one of the benefits that a fractional CMO brings to your business, is they can quickly audit things and say, well, the math isn't mathing here. Let's switch a couple of things here on what we've seen work historically, and let's see if we can get you some quick wins. So here's some basic numbers on when I believe you should hire each one. I believe that once you kind of get to that $2 to $3 million a year range, most businesses have a couple of marketing vendors they're using. The founder a lot of times is still doing some of the marketing, and they're not really ready to go to that full in-house marketing team, mostly for financial reasons, but also because they're kind of stuck at what got them here, can't get them here, and so they kind of need a strategy refresh for the next level. So I kind of think once you get to that $2 to $3 million a year range, that's when hiring a fractional CMO typically makes sense in my mind. Now, once you get into the $6 to $7 million a year range, now I think it's really important that you build an in-house marketing team, because even if you still have the fractional CMO from before, it's really good to have everybody under one roof and everybody kind of playing the same tune with each other and being in the same space of communications every single day, because it just makes things so much more fluid and so much more synchronistic in your business. Once you kind of get beyond that mark, if you've got vendors all over the place, then a lot of stuff gets dropped and there's a lot of cracks in the system. Now, if you want to see how this works in a real business, I've actually put together another video for you that has the 5 things that you have to know before you go and hire a fractional CMO, and it's super easy to get access to. Go ahead and just click the link below.